I'm Emma, just your average high school kid. I like hanging out at the mall, checking out the latest stuff, chilling with friends. But this one time, I was there alone, and something happened that I still can't shake off. It was a typical Saturday, you know. I'd met up with my friends, but they had to leave early. So I'm wandering around the mall by myself, window shopping, not really planning to buy anything. I remember stopping by this jewelry store, just looking at the necklaces and stuff. That's when she approached me. This woman, she looked nice, you know, like someone's mom. She had this kind smile, nicely dressed. She starts talking to me, saying things like how I have a unique look and could be a model. Me? A model? I laughed it off at first, but she's persistent, says she's a scout for a modeling agency. Now I've heard stories, bad ones, about people pretending to be something they're not. But she seemed so professional. She had this badge, some business cards, and she talked about fashion and modeling like she knew it all. I guess I got kind of swept up in it. She suggested we do a quick photo shoot, said it would be just outside in the parking lot. She mentioned something about natural light being the best. I hesitated for a bit. But then I thought, what harm could it do? It's just a few photos right in the parking lot. So we're walking to the parking lot and she's all chatty, asking me about school, my hobbies. I start to relax a bit. But then I notice how she keeps looking around, checking her phone. She's texting someone, and it seems urgent. That's when I start to feel uneasy. Like, why is she so nervous? We reach this part of the parking lot that's kind of secluded. There's a few cars around, but it's away from the main entrance. And that's when I see the van. It's this old beat-up thing, parked in a corner. There are a couple of guys standing near it. They're not doing anything, just hanging around, but they give off this shady vibe. I stop in my tracks. Something's not right. My heart's starting to race. I'm thinking about all those stories you hear, about girls getting tricked, kidnapped. I look at the woman, and she's still on her phone, but now she seems even more nervous. I remember my dad's words, always trust your gut. So I make up this quick excuse. I tell her I forgot my phone back at a store, need to go grab it. She tries to convince me to stay, saying the photo shoot won't take long. But I'm adamant. I turn around and start walking back to the mall, fast. I don't look back. I don't want to see if she's following me. My mind's racing, thinking about what could have happened if I'd stayed. I reach the mall, and it's like I've entered a different world. People are shopping, laughing, totally unaware of what's happening just outside. I head straight for this cafe in the mall, one that's always crowded. I find a seat where I can see the entrance, and I call my parents. I'm trying to sound calm, but my voice is shaking. Mom answers, and I tell her I need them to pick me up now. She can hear the fear in my voice, asks me if I'm okay. I tell her I'm fine, just scared. She says they're on their way. As I'm waiting, I keep replaying the whole thing in my mind. The woman, the van, those guys. What was their plan? Was I just being paranoid? But then why did it feel so wrong? My parents arrive, and I've never been so relieved. We go to the security office, tell them about the woman, the van. They take it seriously, promise to look into it. But I didn't get a good look at the van's license plate, didn't even get the woman's name. The ride home is quiet. I'm sitting in the back seat, staring out the window, thinking about how close I came to... I don't even know what. I can feel my parents glancing at me, worried. I don't sleep much that night. Every sound makes me jump. I keep seeing that parking lot in my dreams. The woman's face. The van. The next day, I tell my friends about it. They're freaked out, telling me how lucky I am to have gotten away. Story number 2. I never thought I'd be the type to share a story like this, but what happened to me last summer, it's something I can't shake off. My name's Jack. I work a 9-to-5 job, enjoy a cold beer on Fridays, and run. Running's my thing, you know? It's where I find my peace, especially on this one trail near my town. It's my little slice of heaven, or at least it used to be. This trail, it's tucked away from the hustle and bustle, surrounded by woods, with a creek babbling somewhere in the background. I've been running there for as long as I can remember. Seen all sorts of wildlife, but never anything unnerving. That is, until that evening last summer. The day was winding down, sky streaked with orange and pink. I remember lacing up my running shoes, thinking about nothing but the trail ahead. The first half of the run was as normal as any other day. I was lost in my thoughts, the rhythmic pounding of my feet on the dirt path, the occasional bird call. But then, I noticed this figure. Way back on the trail, just a dark outline against the fading light. My first thought? Another runner, or maybe a hiker. But something about him didn't sit right with me. He seemed out of place, and he was keeping pace with me. Not gaining, not losing, just there. I tried to shake off the feeling, telling myself I was being paranoid. So I pick up the pace. And what do you know? So does he. I slow down, thinking I'm being ridiculous. He slows down too. It's like we're connected by some invisible string. Now, I'm not a coward, but it's making my skin crawl. My heart's pounding, not from the run, but from fear. I decide I gotta test this guy, see what his deal is. There's this narrow, winding path off the main trail. It's rough, barely used, but it cuts through to a busier part of town. I take a sharp turn onto this path, almost slipping in my haste. I steal a glance behind me. He's stopped at the fork like he's thinking it over. That gives me a head start. I'm running faster than I ever have, adrenaline pumping through my veins. The path is treacherous, full of rocks and roots. I stumble a few times, but I don't dare slow down. Every sound is amplified in my ears. My own breathing, the crunch of my footsteps, the distant call of an owl. I don't look back. I can't. The thought of him being right behind me is too much. My imagination's running wild, picturing all sorts of horror movie scenarios. After what feels like an eternity, I burst out onto the main road. It's a shock to the system. The bright lights, the noise of traffic, people walking around. I'm panting, sweating, my heart racing a mile a minute. I force myself to look back at the path I just came from. He's there, standing at the entrance of the path, just standing and watching me. Even from this distance, it feels like he's looking right into me. He doesn't move, doesn't follow. He's just a dark figure, a shadow that's etched itself into my memory. I don't hang around. I run down the road, away from him, away from the trail. By the time I get home, I'm a mess. My hands are shaking as I fumble with the keys to my door. I don't sleep much that night. Every little sound has me jumping, thinking he's found me. The next day, I tell a buddy of mine about it. He thinks it's some prankster or a homeless guy. But I know what I felt. That wasn't no prank. That was something else. Something sinister. I haven't gone back to that trail. Can't bring myself to. It's like that one evening stole something from me. My sanctuary, my peace. Now when I run, I stick to the streets. There are lights there, people. Nobody can hide in the shadows on a busy street. Story number 3. It was the kind of Friday that screamed adventure. The sky was a brilliant blue, and I, Emily, was ready for something new. Something exciting. Today was the day I was finally going to meet Alex, my online friend. We had been chatting for months, sharing laughs, dreams, and even some secrets. He had suggested meeting up at a local cafe downtown, but just as I arrived, buzzing with nervous energy, my phone pinged with a text from him. Hey, let's take a walk in the park first. It's a beautiful day. I found it a bit strange to change plans last minute, but the weather was perfect, and a walk sounded nice. So, I agreed. I spotted Alex easily in the park. He was taller than his pictures, with a friendly smile that put me at ease. We started walking along the busy paths, talking about everything and nothing. He was just as witty and charming in person as he was online. As we walked, the conversation flowed from our favorite movies to our plans for the future. But as the paths became less crowded and the sounds of the city faded, Alex's questions started to get more personal. He asked about my family, particularly about my life without a dad. It felt intrusive, but I brushed it off, thinking maybe he was just trying to be empathetic. The deeper we ventured into the park, the more I noticed the change in Alex. His questions grew more probing. You must feel quite alone sometimes, he said, his voice a mix of curiosity and something else I couldn't quite place. I tried to steer the conversation to lighter topics, but Alex seemed fixated on finding out about my personal life, my fears, and my insecurities. It was unsettling. I noticed his gaze had intensified. No longer the warm, friendly eyes I met initially. They were now sharp, scrutinizing me. We reached a part of the park that was secluded, surrounded by dense trees. The sun was setting, casting long shadows on the ground. A chill ran down my spine despite the warm air. I was suddenly acutely aware of our isolation. "It's so peaceful here, don't you think?" Alex said, his voice taking on an excited edge that didn't match the calm scenery. I forced a smile, my instincts screaming that something was off. "Yeah, it's nice. But, I should probably head back soon," I stammered, taking a step back. He moved closer, his gaze unyielding. "Oh, come on. We're just getting to know each other. Tell me what truly scares you, Emily." His tone was now probing, almost demanding. I laughed nervously, trying to diffuse the tension. "Spiders, I guess. And heights. You know, the usual stuff." He shook his head slightly, a smirk forming on his lips. "No, I mean real fears. The ones that keep you up at night. Being alone, unloved, that sort of thing." I felt a knot in my stomach. His questions were not just invasive, they were disturbing. I needed to get away. "Actually, I just remembered I have to make a phone call. It's really important," I said, pulling out my phone with trembling hands. His expression soured. "Now? Can it wait?" "No, it's my mom. She gets worried," I lied, stepping away. My heart was racing, pounding against my chest so hard I thought it might burst. "Fine, but hurry back," he said, the warmth in his voice replaced by an icy edge. I turned and walked quickly, putting as much distance between us as I could. Once I was out of his sight, I broke into a run. I didn't stop until I was back in the bustling cafe, surrounded by the comforting noise of people and safety. Sitting there, catching my breath, I realized how close I had come to something potentially dangerous. The warning signs were there, the sudden plan change, the invasive questions, the secluded area, and that intense, unwavering gaze. I shuddered at the thought of what might have happened if I hadn't listened to my gut feeling and left when I did. I blocked Alex on all platforms and never responded to his subsequent attempts to contact me. I shared my experience with my friends, warning them about the risks of meeting online acquaintances. The encounter served as a harsh reminder that people might not always be who they portray themselves to be online.